Hello and welcome back to Archetype Builds. We're going to be talking about the Warlock today, and oh boy, was this one a doozy. So, long video, lots of changes, let's get into it. So first of all, you guys have heard, you've seen the headlines, Pact Magic is back, short rests, same slots, all the same deal. The big thing that they have done in order to address the concern with casting Warlock spells more often is they've introduced a feature, Magical Cunning. Now, I don't like Magical Cunning, but what the feature says is, once per long rest, essentially, you can take a 1-minute ritual to refresh half of your spell slots. Now, for most of your career as a Warlock, that's going to be 1 spell slot because you get 2. At very high levels, you get 3 and then 4, but also at those higher levels, changes are coming to Magical Cunning. So, in your mind, think you regain 1 of your pact slots in a 1-minute ritual. I'm not a fan of this, first of all, because it very poorly scales with the primary concern, right? The primary concern with Warlocks is a lot of groups do 1 or 2 combats per day, and so the Warlock is getting to cast their spell slots basically 2 or 4 times, whereas they're sort of expecting 4 short rests per day, so they'd be like 8 times, so they're casting half as often as they would normally. And this 1-minute refresh does not affect that problem in any way. So that the primary issue is still very much there, and they have not addressed it. So that's one of the reasons I don't like it, is it doesn't do anything helpful. The other reason I don't like it is because it treats time in the world of the D&D games as a lot more literal than I think it should be treated. I think time compression or dilation is one of the most common DM techniques for telling the story and manipulating the storyline. The ability to say there is something urgent, you must get over there and go deal with it, is going to be undercut by a 1-minute rest, right? It's going to be undercut to say, like, can I take a minute and do whatever, and everyone kind of sits around for a minute. If there is something urgently happening, if there are prisoners being lowered into lava, or who knows what the bad guys are doing, their ritual is underway, we've got to rush in and stop them, right? The 1 minute undercuts that sense of urgency in a way that I think a short rest would equally. Right, like taking 1 hour to rest up. Now you might go like, well, obviously 1 hour, is too long if the ritual is already underway. But 1 minute, surely we can spare 1 minute. Just make it an action. Just make it an action. Let them do it in combat if they're out of spell slots. Once per long rest, you take an action, you refresh your spell slots, and then out of combat, if you need to juice up again and you don't have time for a short rest, you can boom, take an action, and it's like instant. 6 seconds, like as you are running towards the place. It's just, the problem was never time. The problem is not time. The problem is urgency. Something is either urgent or it is not. If it is urgent, you cannot take a rest of any length. And if it is not urgent, you can take a short rest, right? I apparently this is not a popular opinion, but that's my approach. I don't like the 1-minute rest. I didn't like it in the Monk. I don't like it in the Warlock. I don't think it's a good change. But is what it is. That's what they have put out there as their solution to the Pact Magic problem. Otherwise, Pact Magic is pretty much the same. Mystic Arcanum has returned to the base class as a way of getting higher level spells that you can cast once. The big change in Warlock is now the Eldritch Invocations and the Pact Boons. And here's why. The Pact Boons have been taken away entirely and made into Invocations. So now they are in your invocation pool, Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Chain, Pact of the Tome. Those are invocations now that you can take as part of your Eldritch Invocation options. They have moved Eldritch Invocations to level 1. You get 1 invocation at level 1, which obviously is meant to allow you to take a pact, right? Allow you to take Pact of the Tome or Pact of the Blade. Interestingly, Pact of the Chain is a level 2 prerequisite, so they explicitly do not want you to take Pact of the Chain at level 1 when you get your invocations. And then So many of the invocations have been changed. So many. So many changes to invocations. So I cannot go over them all, even though I do think that a lot of them deserve to be looked at. I would encourage you to pause the video and check that list again. Some of the big changes have to do with levels, right? So a lot of things are moving to a lower level. Real quick, I'm not going to put them on the screen. Ascendant Step is 5 instead of 9. Myriad Forms is now at 5 instead of 15. Otherworldly Leap is 2 rather than 9. So a lot of them are going down in level. This is partly because they were oriented at the half caster progression, and now they can be oriented at the full caster progression, but some of them are even more dramatic than that. One of the things I think is interesting is Agonizing Blast is back. Previously, this was roped into the Pact of the Tome. So I guess Pact of the Tome got a little bit worse in that regards. And Agonizing Blast now allows you to choose a cantrip that will be adding your charisma modifier to damage. Now, I've run the numbers, I've checked over the results, I've reviewed the list. The best one for Agonizing Blast is Eldritch Blast. So, radical changes there. I want to note that Eldritch Smite is back as a boost to Pact of the Blade. And then we do have our normal Thirsting Blade, normal except for at level 11, that becomes 3 attacks, which is quite good. We've also got Life Drinker in here. That was previously removed, but now it is back in, and now it makes use of hit dice. Yeah, Pact of the Blade has a lot of boosts, and continues to have the permanent Hexblade like charisma for attack and damage rolls, which is great. Someone pointed out that Eldritch Adept is a feat that allows you to take an Eldritch Invocation, and that Pact of the Blade does not have any prerequisites. And so now any class at any of their ASI levels can just take an Eldritch Adept and use this Pact of the Blade, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. They've nerfed Investment of the Chainmaster. This used to have a cool new effect based on what type of familiar you had summoned. Now that is reduced. Now they can attack during your bonus action. They get a movement speed change. They do necrotic or radiant damage, and then you can grant them resistance with your reaction. I don't know why, and this Jeremy Crawford specifically said like they did not want Pact of the Chain to be as powerful as the other two packs, and like why? For what reason? I don't get it. Why not? There are more invocation changes, obviously, but those are sort of the highlights of the pack. They've also increased the number of invocations by 1, presumably to account for the fact that the boon is now a tax on your invocations. Lots of subclass changes for the Warlock, so let's get into it. The archfey is completely redesigned. I want to make sure to emphasize this is a brand new subclass under the title of archfey because so little of it is the same. What's mainly happening here is this is a subclass that is built around the Misty Step spell. You are at level 3 automatically getting Misty Step. You can cast it without expending a spell slot a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. And then, of course, it has benefits tied to the Misty Step. When you cast it, you can either have a refreshing step or a taunting step. Refreshing is a healing option. Taunting is this neat little like taunt mechanic. But, of course, you are teleporting away. So it's taunting creatures from where you have come from. And now they have to get to you in order to not have that disadvantage. At level 6, Misty Escape is going to add more options on. This is now looking a little bit like the Cunning Strikes option for Rogue, where you're going to continue to pile on options to this same base class feature. So you're going to get Disappearing Step, which is a lot like the Misty Escape option that they previously had. And you also have Dreadful Step, which fears people in the space you left or appeared in, your choice. Just looking at those base class features, this is a much more interesting class now. Your bonus action is consistently being taken up by teleporting around the battlefield, which means your action can't be used to cast a spell. Probably going to be using something like a cantrip, probably something like, I don't know, Eldritch Blast every single turn, and using that Misty Step to keep distance from your opponents so that you can continue to blast unimpeded. I really like that. I really like the redesign of the subclass. I think it's very cool, an interesting redesign. I want to point out Beguiling Defenses is just okay. It's kind of a mid level 10 feature, but you basically share damage with your opponent, and their damage is psychic. And then Bewitching Magic allows you to cast the Misty Step spell as a part of the same action where you cast an enchantment or illusion spell, and of course their class spell list is full of those. So more and more Misty Steps. You're Misty Stepping every turn, all the time. Crazy Misty Stepping. The Celestial Patron has very few changes as compared with these other base classes. Basically, Celestial Resistance has been redesigned to work with the Magical Cunning, the new kind of refresh mechanic, but that's basically it. The Fiend Patron has a few changes made. We've seen the Fiend Patron before in Playtest 5. They've made some basic improvements, which they did last time as well, and then Hurl Through Hell has now been changed so that it requires a saving throw, but gives the incapacitated condition and a little bit less damage when they fail that save. So I don't think this is a great change. I think that the appeal of Hurl Through Hell was that it was automatic, but hey, now it will do the incapacitated condition, so you don't have to worry about your DM kind of countering your Hurl Through Hell if they fail their saving throw. The Great Old One Patron has also been reworked, not to the extent that the archfey has, but this I would say is a significantly different subclass. Mostly, they've been given additional features. The patron spells now work the way that all other patron spells do, which is that they don't counter against your spells prepared, which I appreciate. Your Awakened Mind allows you to connect with people telepathically the same way that it always has. Also at level 3, we are getting Psychic Spells, a new feature. This allows you to change the damage type of any of your Warlock spells to Psychic, and also allows you to kind of automatically subtle spell, enchantment, or illusion spells. The big change, I think, is in Clairvoyant Combatant, which is a complex feature. What we read is you learn to read the attacks of minds you touch. They're going to make a saving throw when you use your Awakened Mind to connect with them, and on a failed save, they have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, presumably because you can telegraph their moves before they make them, and you have advantage on attack rolls against them, presumably because you are able to identify their weak points. This is a once per short rest or long rest feature, but it is significantly increasing the damage output of a Great Old One Warlock against single target enemies, which is super, super cool. I think it's a very powerful feature. Comes online right at level 6, which is like right when you want to get cooking. I like it a lot. Thought Shield is still there, and then Eldritch Hex is a new 10th level feature that allows you, you always have the Hex spell prepared, and when you cast it, the target also has disadvantage on saving throws of that ability. So previously, I believe that it was things do extra damage to them, and they lose out on ability checks of a certain type. Everyone would choose Athletics or Strength-based, because that is how you would usually get out of a grapple. Now, you can target certain saves that help your spells that require saving throws. So now you're able to target wisdom saves or intelligence saves and basically pile up extra damage against your target. The Create Thrall ability at level 14 is also different. It essentially allows you to have the Summon Aberration spell prepared all the time. It does not require concentration, which is a huge deal, especially for a summoned creature. And then also, it has a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level. You're getting this feature at 14, so that's already 14 hit points, plus your Charisma modifier, which at 14, probably an extra 5. So think of this like 20 temporary extra hit points. And the first time the aberration hits a creature under the effect of your Hex, it does extra psychic damage, the bonus damage of that spell. So it's benefiting from your Hex as well. What a package! What an absolutely incredible package. This is a very, very boosted Warlock subclass. I didn't hate the old Pact of the Old One, but now I think this is actually some really significant damage, and especially psychic damage, you are generating a lot of with this class.